G'day, I'm Mark Latham, and just when you thought Australian politics couldn't get any worse, it's descended into absolute chaos. A plague on both our houses, Labor and Liberal. Well, if you have a look at these headlines that we've seen in Australia over the last couple of days, it's evidence that Australian politics has turned to farce. You've got the office of an employment minister, Michaelia Cash, that has tipped off the media about a police raid on the offices of the Australian Workers Union, looking at the misuse of funding by that union, headed up at the time by Bill Shorten, now the Alternative Prime Minister, the leader of the opposition. By tipping off the media, of course, Cash's office has potentially compromised the entire investigation. And certainly in the public arena, it looks like this hopeless Turnbull government that couldn't run a chook raffle has let Bill Shorten off the hook. Well, coming from a Labor Party background, I think it's important just to explain some of the background. This Shorten scandal needs some scrutiny and some explanation. You see, inside the Australian Labor Party, political power is exercised by the unions. If you've got the union numbers at party conferences and in pre-selections, well, pretty well you can run the entire Labor Party. So a lot of these guys, wanting to be powerful people, end up wearing two hats and having a conflict of interest. In 2006, Bill Shorten was wearing two hats. The first was as a senior right-wing factional leader in the Victorian Labor Party. So inside the Labor Party, this guy's running the right-wing faction, exercising a lot of power, relying on the union numbers. And his second hat was to actually run the Australian Workers Union, a very powerful trade union with access to lots of resources, mainly from the membership fees of its long-suffering members. So Shorten's wearing the two hats, and he set up for himself a conflict of interest. As the head of the Australian Workers Union, he gave $100,000 to a new outfit setting up called Get Up, and we know all about them in the decade since. He was doing this to try and get himself some brownie points, wearing the other hat as a Labor Party factional chief. So why would Shorten give $100,000 to Get Up, misusing that money? Well, he did it to try and further his career inside the Labor Party, but he also did it at the expense of the union members who paid their fees, contributed the money. It was their $100,000. They weren't consulted. Shorten gave it to Get Up, and what did Get Up do with the money? Well, they've campaigned for over a decade now on two and very important issues, actually hurting the interests of the members of the Australian Workers Union. Get Up has campaigned to end mining in Australia, particularly coal mining in Queensland. Lots of AWU jobs, lots of union jobs will be lost because of that Get Up campaign. And the second thing they've done is campaign for open borders and big Australian migration. So again, Australian Workers Union members, the workers themselves, would be losing their jobs because of the migrant workers coming in and taking them. So Shorten handed over $100,000 to an organisation to hurt the employment security and job opportunities of his members. So if you're a member of the Australian Workers Union, you've been ripped off blind out of this process. You've had your fees, your money, sent over to Get Up, who had nothing to do with the union, and the $100,000 has been used to do you out of a mining job and doing you out of a job as the migrant workers come in and flood the labour market. This is the misuse of money. I think it's theft. I think Shorten was involved in an act of theft in taking the money for a purpose that wasn't in the interests of his union members. Now, the investigation by the Australian Federal Police is to see whether or not there was proper executive union authorisation of this, and was it properly recorded within the Australian Workers Union. Well, that's an important issue, but we've also got to look at how the money was used against the interests of Shorten's members. So he had a shocking conflict of interest, and we know these union funds are misused on a regular basis. Remember Craig Thompson? Remember this guy from the Health Services Union? He took the money of the members and spent it on the high life, including prostitutes, and he was convicted in the courts of theft. Well, I think to some extent what Shorten has done is wrong, because he's misused the money, spent it on a purpose that wasn't about the best interests of the members, but beyond that, the members have lost jobs, and they've funded this far left extreme radical outfit called Get Up to take their jobs off them. So Shorten's actually misused the money, We're yet to see if it had proper authorisation inside the union. That's what the police inquiry is about. But we do know that GetUp used the $100,000 to actively hurt the members that Shorten was supposed to represent. What a rip-off. What a shocker. So that, from a Labor Party perspective, my particular political background is the story of what Shorten has done here, and we shouldn't allow this pathetic Turnbull government and Michaelia Cash in the office there and all their shockers to distract attention from the main game here, and that is Shorten's responsibility to give a thorough explanation as to what happened inside the union, and I don't think he'll find any excuse for using $100,000 of his members' money to actively hurt those members. It's an absolute disgrace. I'm Mark Latham for Rebel Australia. And if you like that video, please share it with all your family and friends on social media. And don't forget our all-important campaign, standwithlatham.com. We're fighting back against lawfare, this malicious defamation suit trying to close down Rebel Australia and Mark Latham's outsiders. Standwithlatham.com.